Good afternoon. It gives me a great pleasure to introduce our speaker of the hour, Justice Morgan. May I call you Brother Morgan? I would like to tell you a story first before I read his bio. Justice Morgan is a very active young man, not only in his family but his community, also the fraternity. I met Brother Morgan several years ago. We often attend council meetings together and also our national and district meetings. There was one meeting we had in South Carolina several years ago. And him and I normally just see each other and just speak and we move on. Well, what happened was I left the meeting on Sunday. Meetings normally get out about 1 or 2 o'clock. We start on a Friday. And I was driving back from South Carolina on Interstate 95. I got hungry. So I decided to stop in Lumberton, North Carolina. As I pull off the highway, pull into the parking lot of a restaurant, walked in, there stood in line Brother Morgan. We struck up a conversation. And from that point, we've been very close. And also I got to learn the inner of him. A gentleman who possessed a lot of skills. I got to learn that he had a sense of clarity and understanding. This individual, when he come into a room, people look and watch and listen. I also learned that his love for his family, his love for the community, and his love for the fraternity is unwavering. I would like to attempt to read his bio, which is very, very impressive. And I want to read it because I don't want to miss anything, because a gentleman who has the work ethics, who has been blessed by God, who has achieved such important milestones in his life, need to be recognized. Michael Rivers Morgan was born in Cherry Point, North Carolina, to Barbara and the late Leander R. Morgan, and the eldest of 5 children. The family resided in Washington, D.C. until young Mike was the age of 6, when the family relocated to his mother's hometown of New Bern, North Carolina. As an 8-year-old 5th grader in 1964, Mike was the first black student to attend an all-white Trent Parker Elementary School, becoming one of the first black students that year to integrate the New Bern public school system citywide. In the 11th grade, he became the first black drum major of the marching band of New Bern Senior High School. Upon graduating from New Bern public school system at the age of 16, Mike earned his Bachelor of Arts degree in both history and sociology from Duke University. He went on to obtain his Juris Doctor degree with honors from North Carolina Central University School of Law, where he served as a student body president during his final year of law school. Justice Morgan served on the legal staff of North Carolina Department of Justice for 10 years following law school. First as a research assistant, then as Associate Attorney General, and later as Assistant Attorney General. In 1989, he was appointed as Administrative Law Judge with the North Carolina Office of Administrative Hearing. While in the capacity, he administered the oath of office to his father, the first and only black American to serve as a mayor of the city of New Bern. Outstanding. This history event was featured nationally in an article titled "Swearing in His Dad" in the February 1990 issue of Jet magazine. In 1994, Justice Morgan was appointed to the Wake County District Court Judge by Governor James B. Hunt, Jr. And he was subsequently elected to the judgeship by the voters of Wake County in 1996 and again in 2000. He was elected to the Superior Court bench in 2004 for an 8-year term and was re-elected to the post in 2012. In his first statewide quest for elected office, Justice Morgan was elected in November 2016 to be Associate Justice of the Supreme Court of North Carolina. Associate Justice of the Supreme Court of North Carolina. Justice Morgan is dedicated, involved in a host of professional, legal, civic, educational, and church activities, both as a leader and as a participant. Some of his professional membership associations include the United States Supreme Court Bar, the North Carolina State Bar, the Wake County Bar Association, the Capital City Lawyer Association, and the Susie Sharp Annum Court. He has served on a number of legal commissions and boards throughout the judicial career by virtue of appointments for 4 different Chief Justices of the Supreme Court of North Carolina, including a current term of the North Carolina Equal Access to Justice Commission. He's a lifetime member of NAACP, a member of the Raleigh-Wake Citizen Association and the Voter Education Coalition, and he is a frequent speaker for community events and church programs. Justice Morgan has received awards, honors, and recognition too numerous to mention. Among them has been his induction into the Hall of Honor during his 25 consecutive years of service as a visiting faculty member of the National Judicial College located on the campus of the University of Nevada, Reno. With the college awards, Justice Morgan conveyed the Robert Payon Award for Teaching Excellence in 2014, similar of the National Teacher of the Year. Justice Morgan has also been honored with awards on the local, district, and national level by his fraternity, Omega Psi Phi. He's also a member of the professional organization Sigma Phi Pi fraternity. Justice Morgan is married to the former Audra Phillips of Raleigh. Between them, they have an adult daughter, adult son, and a daughter-in-law, and 5 grandchildren. Justice Morgan and his wife are active members of Rush Metropolitan LME Zion Church in Raleigh, North Carolina, where he served as the chair of the stewardship board, a member of the male choir, and in several other positions. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you my brother and friend, Brother Justice Mike Morgan.
Pastor Evans, Brother First Vice District Representative Mitchell, to Brother Master of Ceremonies Vice Basileus Nellis, officers and members of Alpha Omicron Chapter, fellow pulpit associates, all fellow Omega brothers, QETs, lovely as you always are, family and friends all. I'm honored and humbled to be your keynote speaker this afternoon for this Alpha Omicron Chapter's 71st Annual Achievement Week Recognition Program. It's always good to be with my brothers of purple and gold. Regardless of whether it's the most joyous of times or the most painful of times, the most intense of times or the more relaxed of times, the most important of times or the most mundane of times, work or play, business or pleasure, those times are always better when I happen to be with my Omega brothers. And when it just happens to be in the pursuit of and positivity of and purity of something as wonderful as this occasion today, when you're able to do it with friends as well as with family and brothers, these times surely become the best of times. So I'm very pleased and thrilled to be with all of us who are part of Omega Nation on this day, as we celebrate and commemorate Omega Psi Phi Fraternity's Achievement Week festivities on the occasion of our beloved Brotherhood's 106th anniversary of its establishment. Since November 17, 1911, Omega Psi Phi Fraternity has been a leader of the pack, a blazer of the trail, a leader on the path, a plotter of the course, and an oasis in the desert. Omega Psi Phi fraternity has stood the test of time, survived the worst of times, and flourished throughout time. Omega Psi Phi fraternity has demonstrated strength in numbers, commitment to excellency, and leadership by example, and once again this afternoon takes pride in achievement. I join my Omega brothers and all of you this evening as a result in appreciating achievement as a historic hallmark of the fraternity through our collective presence at this fraternity event, this Achievement Week program this afternoon. I want to thank my brother and great friend, First Vice District Representative Melvin Mitchell, for the kind invitation, first of all, to come to speak, and secondly, for such a gracious introduction of me. I do indeed remember that time we pulled off a fast food place. We'll let them remain unmentioned. I think they had an orange and brown sign in front. And I'm there sitting, and in walks Brother Mitchell. I'd seen him from afar, knew his name. Of course, anybody who's got the same initials that you do automatically attracts your attention. MM, as we are. I also noticed how well dressed he always was. Sized him up, saw we were about the same size. So I said, I got to stay close to this brother, because one day if I happen to go behind him when he happens to be contributing to charity all those clothes, I'm going to be there to scoop him up. But I love my good brother and friend, and thank you for a tremendous introduction. Also, I want to thank and recognize my fellow elected officials who happen to be here today, including Brother Sheriff, along with the rest of the excellent law enforcement officers that we see here today. What other place can there be in this county any safer than where we are right now? When you see this contingent on Pew 5, I feel extremely comfortable about being here right now. So thanks to all of you. Thank you for all your tremendous service that you render to all of us. And Brother Sheriff, congratulations to you. Also want to recognize my fellow officers of Omega Psi Phi fraternity, those that are on the international level, the district level, the chapter level, including I see my own chapter brother here, the keeper of finance for the 6th district, Alfonso White, and I also see, or did see, there he is, Brother Kearney. You can't hide from me, Brother Kearney. You know, you just radiate like that, so you can move around, I'm still going to find you. Just so many brothers that I recognize. I mean, I can go through and start naming names. I take up all my speaking time. So just rest assured that I feel a real closeness to my Alpha Omicron brothers. And certainly I want to recognize as well all members of the bar. Thanks to all the lawyers for all that you all do to make sure that we keep society as well ordered as we possibly can. Also, I want to congratulate all the award recipients. I mean, what a tremendous contingent of those who have been recognized today. Truly exemplary of what Omega represents. And these young scholars that I see here as well, congratulations, young men. Already proud of you, but even going to be more proud when we see what you are yet to become. And so continue on the path. You've already been given plenty of encouragement. You've already got all that it takes, but now just continue to grow upon that. And who knows how limitless the future is for all of you. Already proud of you and proud of what you're certain to become. And last on these recognitions, and certainly better not be least, otherwise it's going to be a long trip back up 64 West. I've got somebody here who keeps me grounded and keeps me happy. The love of my life, the wind beneath my wings, my lovely wife, Audrey. As As is the Achievement Week program tradition for the event's guest speaker, I'm going to focus my remarks on the identified International Achievement Week theme, which for 2017 is When the World Calls, Omega Men Answer. When the world calls, Omega Men answer. To get some perspective on this worldly topic, I went, appropriately enough, to the World Wide Web. And I looked up Omega Psi Phi fraternity on the site of the encyclopedia source Wikipedia, because I wanted to see what it would have to say about our illustrious organization, brothers. The first 7 words of information about the organization on Wikipedia signify this world presence that we feel we have. It reads as follows, quote, Omega Psi Phi is an international fraternity, unquote. It's both revealing and reassuring to know that we're recognized as having an international presence, with that recognition being afforded by an established informational resource such as Wikipedia. This gives the fraternity credibility, reliability, and viability as we say when the world calls, Omega Men answer. Wikipedia further informs its researchers on that website that Omega Psi Phi fraternity is an international fraternity with over 750 graduate and undergraduate chapters. It goes on to note that we've got over 250,000 brothers that have been initiated into the organization throughout the United States, Bermuda, the Bahamas, the Virgin Islands, South Korea, Japan, Liberia, Germany, and Kuwait. With a strong and strapping global presence like we have throughout these chapters that are all positioned in Omega's 13th district, our international chapter, we understand that Omega has forged a fundamental footprint in making sure that this earthly expanse knows of its existence. Because when the world calls, we've got to be positioned anywhere to answer. Omega brothers also, when you add in the isolated pockets where you'll find Omega brothers, wherever they may be, foreign lands concerning their work duties, military assignments, religious missions, memberships on foreign sports teams, living overseas because that's where they choose to live, but wherever Omega men may be, we have the breadth and the depth of Omega men all across this world, because as long as we're where we are, that breadth and depth is going to be always felt. It's not unusual to travel to some distant land to view television programming, look at sports events and see brothers that have the tattoos or their brands on their arms, somebody wearing Omega paraphernalia. Just seems like everywhere you look, there's realization and confirmation that Omega men are everywhere you happen to turn in your existence. We're in a position, therefore, wherever we are worldwide, to respond to the world's call, because when the world calls, Omega men are there to answer. Yet, while the availability of Omega brothers across the lands and seas certainly lends to the perception that Omega men answer when the world calls, the reality remains that wherever Omega men may be and wherever the world may call, we are there to answer. Whether it's feed the hungry or clothe the naked. Whether it's to adopt a family or to educate a child. Mentor a youth or support a cause. Omega men roll up our sleeves, put on our boots, man up and get down to whatever needs to happen to make sure that the work is done. Somehow, somewhere, someplace, it's going to be done. Because when the world calls, Omega men have to be in a position to answer. That's because to whom much is given, much is required. Do unto others as others do unto you. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. Yeah, this pulpit does something to you, Pastor. These are guiding principles by which Omega men throughout the world govern themselves. It's in our DNA to move PDQ to respond ASAP in the name of Psi Phi. That's what we are and that's what we do. Men of principle, men of purpose. Men of compassion, men of composure. Men of intellect, men of insight. Men of means, men of motivation. Men of vision, men of vitality, men of sacrifice, men of service. When the world calls, Omega men answer. We possess, when our resources are all combined, a multitude of methods, a ton of talent, a bunch of belief, a heap of hard work, monumental motivation, and lots of love. Because we feel it for our brothers and our sisters, no matter where they may be on this earth, when we hear the call for action, because when the world calls, Omega men answer. Now, indeed, I've already shared with you what was evidenced in the Wikipedia source governing what was said about Omega Psi Phi fraternity, knowing, therefore, that our brotherhood is readily recognized as having a presence of global scope, which in turn easily translates into the perception that we have fraternity organizations and contributions that cross the spectrum of society. But while I wondered how the outer community looked at us, and I was satisfied based on that Wikipedia resource that I saw, I went a step further because I was curious about how we looked at ourselves in terms of that global reach that we claim we have, that effectiveness of our response to the world's call. So how do we look at this ourselves in terms of our own global reach as we look at ourselves inwardly about that outward reach? Well, once again, I went to the World Wide Web, looked up Omega Psi Phi fraternity, but this time, I didn't just look at some outside source, I looked at our own source. I looked at Omega Psi Phi fraternity's website, because I wanted to see what we had to say about ourselves in terms of this international presence that we claim to have. In detecting what I saw, I determined that in this worldly impact upon the world, it took the fraternity just 2 more words beyond the 7 that Wikipedia used for us to establish the fact that we've got, we realize, a worldwide presence. We say about our global footprint as follows, quote, Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated is the first international fraternal organization founded on the campus of a historically black college. Close the quote. The world's view of Omega Psi Phi fraternity is therefore consistent with the fraternity's view of itself. Because if you look at one source, it talks about an international fraternity, and the other source talks about an international organization. So no matter how you slice it, go to one or go to the other first, that international presence, that global reach is felt right there. So you can see as we look at ourselves inwardly, our brotherly self-esteem is high, as if you didn't already know that. Our brotherly self-worth is intact. Our brotherly self-confidence is strong. We know that we Omegas are international. We realize that Omega Psi Phi fraternity is a global commodity. We understand that this purple and gold membership is world renowned. We understand it. We know that whether it's over the waters, across the nations, around the continents, and throughout the world, that purple and gold of Omega Psi Phi is recognized. We understand as a result, therefore, that when we get the commendations and the celebrations and the commemorations and the appreciations, we understand that we're being recognized because people understand that when the world calls, Omega men answer. So we like being recognized in this way, and we even recognize it ourselves in this way. But we've got to remember to wait a minute sometimes and go back and reflect and hold our horses as to what all this means. Don't read those press clippings. Don't rest on the so-called laurels. Don't believe the hype. Excuse me, Pastor. You see, on one hand, the phrase "when the world calls, Omega Men answer" can be construed as a sticky chest out, pat yourself on the back feeling that we know who we are and we don't mind shouting it out to the world in a braggadocio fashion. When the world calls, Omega Men answer. We could have that flippant attitude about it because the phrase can be read in that way. But I submit to you, my brothers, that when we look at it another way, the phrase "when the world calls, Omega Men answer" shouldn't be a celebration, but it should better be viewed as a check yourself out, check your conscience exhortation. It's a mandate. It's a command. It's a mission. It's an expectation. It is a standard. When the world calls, Omega Men answer. When I think about our numbers, I remember how we learned, those of us that went through, that a few committed men can do more than a number of men with questionable means. We learned it a different way, but we'll keep that one to ourselves. When I think about our power, I think about how 5 fingers on a hand have limited dexterity and purpose, but when you combine them together to make a fist, that's some authority cannot easily be ignored. When I think about our strength, I think about the circus elephant that somehow led to believe that one single shackle wrapped loosely around its hoof can somehow keep it restricted in its own mind, that it can't go any further than where it already is, as if it didn't know what its strength could be. When I think about that influence with our numbers, that power with our potential, and that strength with our abilities, if we just harnessed it and channeled it and guided it and packaged it and took it wherever it could go, when you put all that together, oh my, oh my, oh my. What would Omega be if we put it all together? Nobody could stop us. Now, sure, we do okay. But we've allowed ourselves too often to be distracted by non-essential, non-productive, nonsensical things that take us wayward, take us downward, take us backward. Our human frailties overcome us. Our human emotions undermine us. What we do or don't do sometimes makes us sail way over the top. Sometimes what we do or don't do has us to hit rock bottom. And I'm not picking on us, brothers, because this happens in any kind of grouping of people. It happens in neighborhoods, it happens in communities, it happens in families, it happens in clubs, it happens in groups, it even happens in church. I got it. It happens with any group. So we understand that Omega Psi Phi fraternity is going to have that too. And our Panhellenic brothers and sisters, I see them nodding in agreement also, because we all are emblematic of the same aspects of humans. But while I love our other brothers and sisters in Panhellenic, I can't talk to you the way I can talk to my brothers, because I can fuss them out. Brothers, we got to make sure we understand that we don't fall and succumb to those kind of frailties and conditions. Why? Because